Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe,
Father of the universe,
Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
peace,
freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, through His holy prophet, and noble Jew Ali. Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims governors ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive the reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Jew Ali. Islam. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Noble Jew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is the instruction from your prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you would be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Jew Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving. And they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but would sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Islam. Islam. I was looking for this down. So today we're just going to go through some of the administrative functions and some Noble Jew Ali literature Was there any questions or comments before we start up? Any thoughts on the resignation, the mayoral resignation?
Besides it being a joke.
Yeah.
I have more thoughts about them going and shooting all these stuff down in the air.
Yeah, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's with all the airspace traffic going on?
Mm-hmm.
That
Peace more.
Canada's now shooting stuff down in the Yukon
Yeah.
and states
Yeah.
shooting Chinese
That's
stuff
right.
down. And
That's good.
all of a sudden, all these stuff are people are shooting stuff down. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the brothers was talking about it's interesting how balloon some let's say weather balloon, service balloon, whatever. This balloon could make it this far from over there, but they got all these satellites watching people, got cameras watching people. They got all this surveillance and all this stuff, and a balloon could get past the surveillance.
And that was a gigantic balloon at that.
Yeah, it's not even like a miniature or regular sized balloon or something. Like how the satellites miss this balloon or whatever. Yeah, and it's white.
It's white.
You know, the sun shining off that thing. I know you're seeing that for miles.
I guess it's funny to ask you, like, how come none of their telescopes took a picture
Yeah.
of it? Like, how come it wasn't on Google Maps? Just a big thing floating by. You can see, according to them, the entirety of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
So how? You know?
You know, it's
symbolic of from a different aspect, metaphysically speaking, like them showing the world that China has infiltrated pretty much. They're symbolically watching them.
Yeah.
Like China's watching us.
Yeah.
China's in our business. They know
watching
everything
something.
about us.
Yeah, they're watching something. Yeah.
Trying to bring that communism conversation back in.
They're showing that their time is up, right?
It's interesting at the same time too, watching the things that they're not reporting about their war as well, and the relationship between Ukraine and their NATO and all of that.
Yeah.
Amidst all of that so-called war, you're telling me China, the balloon crossed over Europe and passed over the war and then made it all the way here. Like, it's just all of it combined doesn't make any sense.
that's why I feel like it's significant because maybe they're gonna start putting restrictions on airspace now.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
putting policies on, you know what I mean, like whatever space in there or whatever. You know, they feel like they want to take control of this area here. So again,
I want aliens to pull up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the one.
That too. When they have the weather, they're creating the earthquake over there in Turkey.
Yeah.
I've heard several different reasons as to how that actually occurred.
Yeah.
And why, and whether or not it was natural. And there was a couple of almost tsunamis that were created as a result of this earthquake. Nobody reported on where those waves landed, how many, there's just so many things and so many holes that I think they're imploding. Personally, that's my intuition tells me that it's an implosion. And so whatever they need to do to keep their narrative going in the direction they want it to go, even though it's falling apart, they're gonna keep, springing it and adding more to the nonsense. But
Yeah.
just now they're gonna press the button and all of their important people are gonna be underground. You know what I mean? It's only gonna, to me, naturally, when nature takes over, it only makes sense that they wind up accidentally using what they're using on themselves. That's what I feel is coming. So
Yeah.
whatever that looks like, however that ends up playing out, it's scary to see. It's unfortunate that hundreds of thousands of people need to lose their lives
Yeah, for
their, confusion.
Mhm.
But at the same time, many of the people in the world are so asleep and not aware of all of these things that maybe it's more
The shake-up.
advantageous to have them on the other side.
shake up is needed.
Exactly. Imagine those many people moving back into, into one with Allah and knowing and now focusing their energies from outside of this
Yeah,
bubble.
Who's more?
So,
yeah. Yeah.
Got onto the nonsense. Did you hear about the one in East Palestine, Ohio?
it's on March, how are you?
No, I didn't hear about that.
This one in Palestine, that was one on Palestine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the train derailment, in East Palestine, it's just, and when it reminds me of like, when I see all these events going on, it reminds me when Taj says, look up proxy wars. Proxy wars and stuff. It's all narrated, I think. There's no way this East Palestine, Ohio. Out of all the places, it named the place where something else is going on in the east, actual east.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all narrated.
Yeah.
Ooh, this morning on the platform at Warden Station, this man, he stood there and just projected all of his thoughts to the landing. And what I mean, he was debasing Canadians. And, you should be ashamed of yourself, allowing these things to happen. And he's just going from one historical event to the next over the last maybe 75 years. He just went boom, 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 boom. And, there's people are standing there like this, eyes wide. He's looking at me and he said, you should be ashamed. You Canadians should be ashamed. I'm looking at him like, I'm not Canadian. But he was, oh man. It's falling apart in so many different, on a microcosm aspect, and then also, microcosm aspect. It's like even the individuals who are quiet and docile and have been living their lives doing what they're supposed to be doing all this time, and they put in their time and they have children and they're waking up in the morning and, deciding to be the loudspeaker for no reason, So it's slowly falling apart, which it's interesting to see, but I think in its totality, it's a positive movement. It's just, you need the destruction in order to, get to ground zero.
Yeah.
So, it's an interesting movie to watch though.
Yeah, it's front row seats at this point.
Yeah.
Well, the Moors who just came, if you want something to eat, they got some what do you say it is? Lentil?
Chickpeas and
Chickpeas and split peas. There's plates over there and everything else. So fix up yourself. So we'll get into some of these readings and just have some discussion on some of these things. Everything today, but most of the stuff today is going to be coming out the administrative functions book that you can get on rvbaypublications.com. We're going to be reading from page 51
Do you have more books here?
through these ones?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah, we got to get some more. So this page 51, prophet announces his authority and power, forced to make changes. All governors and other officers of the More Science Temple are hereby congratulated for their past loyalty and fidelity, for I know it will be the same in the future. Because of certain incidents that have risen in some of the temples, which seem to come from some acts shown that there are those who do not know where the seat of power is vested, the prophet has ordered the following to be published. All authority and power of the More Science Temple of America is vested in the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and those whom he appoints to act as in the supreme body. The Prophet has the authority and power to expel any officer or member of the More Science Temple of America who willfully violates or refuses to comply with the rules in regard to the branch More Science Temples, and such suspensions and expulsions shall stand until the judgment of the Prophet, and the members and officers shall have made satisfactory atonement. All officers and members of the More Science Temple of America and all such rules and regulations of the Constitution shall be in writing and not at variance with any law of the city, town, or nation which the Prophet shall declare a law. During this session of the convention, all rules, regulations, and laws of the Constitution, and such as might be enacted and ordered by the Prophet, shall express and explain in detail, so there can be no doubt as to what is required of each and every officer or member of the organization. The Prophet will positively not tolerate any interference with the operation of the National Divine Movement from anyone. By Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Any thoughts on that? Before we...
Summed it up, like, all power is vested in him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're just here as humanitarians to just carry out the duty. He chose the position. When he chose us, he came to us. And we accepted that position for carrying out what he left for us.
Yeah.
Which is
Mm-hmm.
humanitarian. You know,
So we'll just...
Divine principles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll just go through it again by paragraphs. All governors and other officers of the More Science Temple are hereby congratulated for their past loyalty and fidelity, for I know it will be the same in the future, because of certain incidents that have risen in some of the temples, which seem to come from some act shown that there are those who do not know where the seat of power is vested. The Prophet has ordered the following to be published. So when we look at all governors and all officers of the More Science Temple and them being congratulated for their loyalty and fidelity, because he knows that it will be the same in the future, that's even a call out to everybody who's in attendance, everybody who's been supported, everybody who has taken some type of position in the Moorish nation to carry on the works without the confusion, without the whatever that comes with these, seats of power. One of the things that stands out is him making this specification of these officials of the More Science Temple of America being officers. We just want to put officers out there. This is Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, page 1235. Officer, the incumbent of an office, one who is lawfully vested with an office, one who is charged by a superior power, and particularly by government, with the power and duty of exercising certain functions, one who is invested with some portion of the functions of the government to be exercised for the public benefit. In a popular sense, an officer is one holding a position of trust and authority in any kind of an organization, civil, military, political, ecclesiastical, or social. The word officer, as used in state statutes or constitutions, is sometimes held to refer only to elective officers, and sometimes to both appointive and elective officers. An officer is distinguished from an employee in the greater importance, dignity, and independence of his position in requirement of oath, bond, more enduring tenure, and fact of duties being prescribed by law. In determining whether one is an officer or employee, important tests are the tenure by which a position is held, whether its duration is defined by the statute or ordinance creating it, or whether it is temporary or transient or for a time fixed only by agreement, whether a contract of employment by which the rights of the parties are regulated, whether the compensation is by a salary or fixed by law or by a sum agreed upon by the contract of hiring. For definitions of the various classes and kinds of officers, see the titles commissioned officers, executive officers, fiscal officers, judicial officers, legislative officers, ministerial officers, municipal officers, naval officers, non-commissioned officers, peace officers, state officers, and subordinate officers. And then it goes into the different officers: civil officer, military officer, de facto officer, de jure officer, officer of justice, officer of United States, public officer, warrant officer. And then it goes into some law maxims. Judicial offices should not be granted before they are vacant. The offices of magistrates ought not to be sold. Then it goes to official. Official, an officer, a person invested with the authority of an office. In canon law, a person to whom a bishop commits the charge of his spiritual jurisdiction. In civil law, the minister or apparator of a magistrate or judge. In common and statute law, the person whom the archdeacon substitutes in the execution of his jurisdiction. Official, adjective, pertaining to an office, invested with the character of an officer, proceeding from, sanctioned by, or done by an officer. Now, what's as we know, with no making certain statements and using certain language, is supposed to let us know what it is that he established and what he set up. So if he's making these reference points to officer and officers and officials and these terms, then we could expand this past the religious, whatever people say that this is, right, into more governmental positions. When they say grand sheik, grand governor, grand secretary, grand treasurer, supreme grand body, all these things are relative to government being established and the exercising of these positions based on these individuals either being elected or being chosen to have these positions. Right? All authority and power of the Moral Science Temple of America is vested in the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and those whom he appoints to act as in the supreme body. So when we're talking about the authority and power vested in Noble Drew Ali, that still even applies today, even though he's not in the flesh. There's an idea that we need something other than Noble Drew Ali, as far as leadership or one individual who's the head of the Moors, right? We also know that the idea of having a quote unquote leader like that is a dead concept, because everybody at this time should be leaders amongst themselves. So if everybody's living by a certain standard, start going back to everybody's living by the principles, everybody's living by the Holy Covenant, everybody knows their prayer, everybody studies their 101, studies divine constitution, Moorish literature, Holy Quran, then that sets you apart from people who don't have that, which puts you in that position of recognizing that you have, you got something to offer because you have the knowledge of this information. But when we get into looking at other nations and they have a prime minister, a president, a king, whatever, we get sort of lapse in our judgment that, oh well, if they have that, we have to whatever. When Drew Ali brought us everything for ourselves to have our own stuff. You know what I mean? He brought us our temple, so we'd have to go to those people's temple or those people's buildings or those people's whatever. You go through the Moorish literature, it's talking about parades for the Moors, not somebody else's parade and we're jumping on it. Our own parade, right? Our customs going into divine constitution, having the power to make law and enforce law. If we're making laws, then obviously it's not the laws that are out there already. It's our own stuff that we're creating because we have our own jurisdiction that we should be exercising in its full capacity from top to bottom, from supreme grand whatever to janitor. Is supposed to be those people supposed to be able to switch. Janitor is supposed to be able to say I'm supreme grand whatever, and supreme grand whatever is supposed to be taking the broom and the mop and the Windex and doing the windows and all that.
Well, that's why the prophet said you leave your thing here long enough.
Yeah,
Shows how to run
to teach us how.
Because they do that, right? They have they'll do the shuffle at times, right?
Mm-hmm.
They do their little shuffle, minister over here, and now they're taking this position.
Yeah.
They're not actually, are they like versed like that in that?
Yeah.
No, but do they get a briefing on what they need to do? Yeah.
Right? And that's part of where it has to be for in this time for it to function, how it's supposed to function. There shouldn't be a situation like the Panthers or whatever. They murder one guy and now the whole thing falls to BS. Even when we look at Moorish militia, you're not supposed to be taking out one guy and then now nothing's happening because this one guy's not there. There should have been successive individuals that, okay, well, if something happens to them, we have a next guy we're putting in there immediately, right? They're gonna bring up some, deputy mayor or whatever because of Tory resigning, right? Automatic. He's not even gonna get a chance for it to sit there and start, growing mold and all that because there's no activity or whatever. There's gonna be somebody who's gonna be put in that position. And and just like you're saying, they've been given whatever it is that they need. Now you go out there and do the best of your ability with what it is that you have. And Moors have to take that same thing of realizing that, well, if anything could happen and these people are attacking us and they're attacking mother and they're attacking whatever, then we should probably have 2 or 3 people who somebody could fill in if something goes down, right? Good, Mark.
One thing I want to say,
don't know if I missed it, but was in the, was it like synonyms or the words related to officer? Was there a police officer?
There was a peace
Peace officer.
yeah,
But there was no police.
but there was no police officer. Yeah, there was
So-
peace officer.
And even when the prophet said what? The power of the Most High's temple is vested in the prophet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Most High's temple is supposed to be our states, no?
Yeah,
So that's kind of like the prophet telling us way before even this on YouTube social media era that the goal is not to really prove ourselves to the policy enforcers or the quote unquote police officers because we have our own jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You know, and even when the prophet said, don't flash your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion.
Mm-hmm.
It always causes confusion when you're talking to the policy enforcers, when you
Right.
talk about your nationality card.
Yeah.
So, and even adding to that, even back in the day when the prophet was talking about, the 25 cents dues, and that was silver. And at this point, we would have had our own financial institution.
Yeah.
We had factories, so we would have had our own, we would have our own economy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And yeah.
And this is part of the reason why he had to come and announce his authority and power, and that the temple structure was forced to make changes, getting people out of office, finding people, starting, letters to be read every meeting, and all this stuff is all part of the same thing of realizing that, well, we could have everything, but there's things that are happening that are stopping us from having our own stuff. You know what I mean? And a lot of the stuff that was happening was internal. So when he started putting out these things of, letters to be read every meeting or whatever like that, the individuals who had taken the position of trying to overthrow it were already feeling like, this stuff is done. We already got this taken over. You know what I mean? Because they, a lot of the stuff they did when Noah Jawali was around touring, they put their things in place. So when he came back and it was time for convention, and then he's at the convention, and then the traders are at the convention, and they're saying things different to what Jawali said, and he's right there. Let him know, and they should have let all the other members know. Oh, so there's actually reasoning behind forced to make changes, and Prophet announcing his authority, and stressing that the authority is only coming through him. There isn't some other guy out there that's gonna be the one to tell you. You know what I mean? It's similar to people hearing about all these different Moors in Canaanland and don't know about Moor Science Temple 5, but they know about all these other Moors out here. Moors in London, Moors in Brampton, Moors Saga, Moors Calgary, Alberta, and nothing with regard to knowing where the seat of power for this idea of Moorish nationality and whatever like that in the north being through our temple. All right.
Well, and
Yeah, go ahead.
to even add to that, Prophet was a sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
So us even investing our power in him, it would have been the similar situation as the people out in England claiming the Queen.
Yeah.
And investing all their power to the Queen. Then I made a joke like when they stop you in London, they say like what in the name of the Queen.
Yeah.
Right? And it would have been the same thing with Morris. You know what I'm saying? In the name of Prophet.
Yeah.
This is supposed to happen. This after this. Right? People got quote unquote Canada based off of the Queen. And we had the mandate for the Americas.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right?
is it in the general sense, isn't that why the Miranda rights is given to us in those situations to let us know that we have the right to exercise those rights?
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't like I agree, but I wouldn't say give it to us.
Yeah.
Like I would say give it to us. I would say more or less like that's from my point of view, that's like their obligation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Well,
they have
to let you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's their
they
obligation.
have to state it because they know their position.
Because the land is a republic, and the structure is a democratic structure, right? And the body of politics within that democratic structure is all these varying different nations and nationalities of people. Well, how would that add to our body now, right? As a unit, as a people, because you have different categories of people within that body that are confusing the officers on in their politics. That's taken away from what we're trying to move towards. And some people are willingly now participating and saying, okay, well, we choose to be a part of this politics, right? This to subjugate ourselves to this body over here, because it allows us, I don't know if democracy or the illusion of democracy is giving people a sense of, maybe freedom. I mean, to say, okay, well, we can vote, we can choose to do these things, right?
Yeah.
So all the time, right? But then again, it's still taken away from us. So if we fly, we're showing our cards and we're saying this, and the officer is like, I've never done that before, I better than nuts, because he's probably looking at you like how the other people are, right?
But at that point, and if we're talking about Republican form of government, then that individual who sees this card and he never seen this before immediately should call a supervisor.
Yeah, because he's not.
Like, he should be doing that, not us telling him call the supervisor. He should, if the form of government is the people, and you know what I mean, and we're here to serve the people and all that stuff, he should be accepting your stuff and just accepting it. Shouldn't even be a question, especially if you have two pieces, you know what I mean, with the same name and the same all the information or whatever like that. Their rules say once you show two pieces, whether it's government of Canada's, whether it's indigenous, whether it's some foreign thing, whatever. Once you have two pieces and they match, that's ID.
Well, to add to that, it's because when I think I came across some sovereign movement, and even in the article that I was saying, it was like they came up with all of this because their people were trying to act on trying to use our stuff, right? And now that's how they got it. So now it's like, well, because it's not really for us, like just for them to call us, we're sovereign citizens or whatever, because they understand. I think they know, right? They know to a degree, right?
Yeah.
But even added to that, the Americas are based on freedom. It's frustrating for them to call us this and the third, but that's part of freedom. They have the choice to build their system and whatnot. They can say, "Oh, these people are sovereign citizens," because that's their jurisdiction. As far as calling us that's a different, to our face, it's a different subject. Also them making their own media and stuff. I.e., when the prophet said, our greatest weapon is our press. Because that's part of it. We constantly had the word out saying that these people are continuing colonization and continuing these colonial practices. We have more of a backing internationally, because internationally everybody's here. And it would also encourage other nationals to deal with us more, because look at all the taxes that's going on nowadays. They're getting taxed to death. Imagine dealing with Morris, willing to just start from the bottom. Even trying to get sovereignty in Toronto, a place like Toronto, right? Well, this is a whole corporation. Anything within Toronto limits is a corporation. So we have to go back to the horse and buggy days, going out to the boonies and really, digging ditches and building our own houses. That's how we're gonna have that true sovereignty. But being here,
it's limited.
We're gonna have to negotiate. We're always gonna have to negotiate.
And
them, I agree. It's not your decision. Bubble with them always. Not secluded, trying to work your own, make your own thing. 100%.
And that's where the thing of the democracy comes in. That people aren't looking at the democracy as mob rule. People are looking at the democracy as under the Republican form of government, or a subsection of Republican form of government is democracy. But democracy is mob rule. Democracy is demon rule. Democracy is lower self running the show, not higher thinking people running the show. That's why, everybody or majority of places where you go that there's corruption and whatever like that, they're talking about democracy as their form of government. you know.
Down onto the press thing. Press segregation. Yeah, and I was thinking just on how some of our own people know that they're Moors, and then they use the press to, say other than what the prophet brought.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest weapon. It can make you or break you, right? So it's, a lot of the times, you got all those Moors that, it's 9 feathers, for example, use the press to push this idea of this travel document. And when you have all these people on the media, because, our people just like to see things.
That's their God, right?
Yeah.
So then they draw it towards that, and now that right there is, divided us even more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like the, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it, like a double-edged sword. It's like the double-edged sword of freedom.
Mhm.
Like if you want freedom, you have to allow people to
be free.
Whatever they see is free.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's like you said, that's part of the whole double-edged sword thing, because now you have, cat rights and dog rights and things that the right shouldn't even apply to certain things, but it's applying because we're in a democracy and people's whatever like that. But then when you go to certain different jurisdictions where they say, okay, well, forget republic and forget democracy, we're gonna say we're gonna say a universal law. Right? You steal from somebody, then we cut your hand off. Immediately, people are gonna stop stealing. You know what I mean? Once the democracy took a hold, it was up to the people now to realize that, this is taking our rights away. We need to go back to whatever it is that allowed us to keep our rights. Like you're bringing up the same thing with the ID. There's going through with different Moors. There's Moors who, as soon as they show their 2 pieces, there ain't no issue. Like the highwaymen recognize, they have 2 pieces of ID that match. They don't need to call supervisor or anything like that. Obviously, these people aren't in the jurisdiction, and they let them be.
Yeah.
Then there's other ones where it's not going down like that. The ones that it goes down like that in are closer to republic recognized. So you're looking at the 13 colonies, Eastern Seaboard. Right, majority of those places, especially going down into the South where they, abolished slavery and whatever like that. Yeah, Moors have issues there, but they don't have issues like Moors in the mainland, dealing with the colonial bodies, assuming jurisdiction and certain things like that. And also too, we want to put authority out there with the idea of recognizing who has it, what it is, and what it's not. So when people claim that, we have the authority, or what do you have the authority in what context do you have this authority that you're claiming that you have? Well, because we got a badge and a gun and a whatever, that's not really authority. Because you have an army, that's not really authority. So authority.
It's tyranny.
Yeah. Page 168, Black's Law Dictionary. Authority. Permission. Control over. Jurisdiction. Often synonymous with power. The power delegated by a principal to his agent. The lawful delegation of power by one person to another. Power of agent to affect legal relations of principal by acts done in accordance with the principal's manifestations of consent to the agent. Then it goes into authority by estoppel, authority coupled with an interest, apparent authority, express authority, general authority, implied authority, limited authority, naked authority, special authority, authority of courts, authority to execute. It goes into authorize and some other stuff. So when Juali's saying, when Juali's making the reference of, announcing his authority and power, right? And authority is permission. And we know that Juali is Allah's prophet. And we're talking about, the Moorish nation being theocratic in their exercise of their governmental abilities. We have to realize that everything that Noble Juali presented is really coming from the higher power. It's not even him like that. Him announcing his authority is really him announcing Allah's authority. It's really him, him giving us the power is really giving us Allah's power.
Right, 'cause, onto that, it says all authority, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says all authority. You mentioned a whole bunch of authorities in that.
Yeah,
last slide.
yeah.
So now I was thinking when you said the officers,
Mm-hmm.
what authority do they have? So they have to be specific on what authority they have, because you mentioned a whole bunch of them in that.
Yeah.
I heard you mention limited authority,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the prophet said all authority. So I was going down that one list of all the authorities.
Yeah.
It's not-
And that you brought up limited authority. That's what all the National Grand Sheikh, Supreme Grand Sheikh, National Treasurer, Grand whatever, all these people have limited authority. They don't have the full authority like that, right? Because their authority comes from the people saying, we're giving you the authority. It's not them. They're not the principal. All the grand whoever's are really agents of the temple. And then the people delegate the agents with their sovereignty that they have as the people, quote unquote, the grand body or whatever the case is. They say, okay, well, we want this. We want that to be done. Carry this out, carry that out, right? Limited authority. Such authority as the agent has when he is bound by precise instructions, right? So Juali laying out all the instructions, and then now these officers are supposed to exercise their limited authority in exercising the will of the people. But if they got the people thinking, well, supreme body isn't them, grand body isn't them, grand body is some Moors over here that were given some authority. We're talking about after Noble Juali. If Juali's around and he says, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you guys are grand body, that's a different thing. But if he's gone and people are claiming this quote unquote authority of being the grand body, and they're supposed to be the ones who are holding this thing together, but they don't even have their stuff together. They're talking about holding something together. Obviously, it's not them. That power has shifted without the people knowing that the power shifted. And the people have to come to the realization that, oh yeah, well, these people, if they sold him out, obviously they can't be the authority, and it has to go back on the people. And it never went back on them because they didn't pick it up. They didn't accept or exercise the authority that was given to them through Noble Juali, saying that I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Go save yourself. And priesthood is dead. You don't need grand whoever's. All you need is study the divine constitution, study the 101, study whatever I gave you. Everything I said is spirit. So, do what it is that you have to do with what it is that you were given based on, knowing where this quote unquote authority and power is vested. And if we know that all that power comes from Allah through Noble Juali to us, then he's not here. Well, now there ain't no middleman between us and Allah. We got direct connection to Allah right now just by taking what Noble Juali presented and looking at it as through him from Allah. to us.
That's why I feel like if you look at like just how a lot of the people in the US are so patriotic and they hold their constitution to like the Second Amendment. We're gonna go take this back, and was last January when they went in to the what do you call it there? The office there. The raid in the building there. And it's like, you know what I mean? That's them exercising their rights as a people, and then you see all the Negro, Black, and colored people. They're saying, well, if we did that, then we would have been bulls because you guys are not exercising your rights to your full capacity.
And then the other side of it is that those individuals that made that move to say they're also in error too, because they're thinking that license and whatever like that makes them a citizen that they can go do that. That's why all those people do in jail time right now, because they actually didn't have the authority like that. All of them are wards too. All of them are Negro, Black, colored. You know what I mean? But they think they're a citizen of Walmart, and then that means they could run up in Walmart and raid the shelves or whatever like that. No, you can't.
It's interesting saying that, and I'm reading. It says the prophet has the authority to expel any officer, remember, right? But if he's not here, he's doing it spiritually, right?
Exactly.
So he's doing it somehow, right?
Exactly.
So I'm reading that, and as you're talking about, they're in jail right now for all, for acting like they have all this authority.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It says, expulsions and suspensions, and he's the man, right?
Yeah.
He's the man. He has the power to expel. Like, it's not even like it's coming from the members. Or the prophet. We're not even the grand sheiks. The will of Allah is so powerful. We can't even comprehend how that member can be expelled. So it's,
and that's the thing too. When you get into Moors having certain issues, and then you say, well, that's a good Moor. Why did that happen to them, or whatever the case is? Those Moors are doing good. Why did that happen to them? It's the same thing. You know what I mean? Somewhere along the line, they did something they weren't supposed to do. You know what I mean? And you can't put up the Moorish veil, you know what I mean, to say you're gonna escape some BS that you did with this. You know what I mean? Once you get into it, and then you have a body of people saying, yes, that guy is the one that we're gonna whatever. Now they got certain obligations that they have to live by, and by not living by those things, whatever comes down on you is gonna come down on you. Because there has to be some accountability to it, which is why again it goes into and such suspensions and expulsions shall stand until in the judgment of the prophet, and the members and officers shall have made satisfactory atonement. So it's on the individuals doing the BS to atone for the BS that they did, which is going to reverse what it is that they're about to get for violating, right? And again, the whole thing of, well, Noble Drew Ali's not here, so we could do whatever we want or whatever. Ain't no prophet gonna suspend somebody right now.
Until you crash into a tree.
Yeah.
Or until someone
fall on the
takes your
stairs
business
or something
order.
like that.
Yeah.
but then you have to think about the whole situation. Because
No, that's all right.
the whole thing with the more humility, honest enough what they're doing and whatnot. The prophet gave us certain instructions, so it's like truth and falsehood strangely mixed.
Yeah, it's real.
Because it's like
Belief.
right now, because the prophet gave us instructions, don't even carry a pocket knife.
Yeah.
And then this all goes down, right? Nobody wanted that to go down.
Yeah.
There's our Moorish brothers and whatnot. But the prophet gave us certain instructions. So when you think and reflect, because reflection is the business of man, you know that the prophet said don't carry a pocket knife, and you think like, well, why did that happen to them? And then you think back and you just connect the dots. And
You can see the energy as well.
no,
too,
what I'm
right?
saying, is the prophet literally is the man. Like he's the man.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's like a
watching
puppet
right
show.
now. No, not even no joke about it. Bro. Spiritually, he's the guy. Like, he's making things. He said before, no judgment until the judgment of the prophet. So he's the one making that. Not even the people alive.
Yeah.
Are the ones making the final call. Like they're violating within this paradigm. Calling himself, right? So it's, even coming into this, reflecting on my issue, coming to more science, and found, the brother put me on the science, and at the time I was going through an issue, and I'm thinking like, wow, is this gonna help me? And then, thinking that was gonna be the thing to get out of my situation, right? But reflect and say prophet, even everybody's gonna get their coattails burned. Clearly, like, even if you're more, like, you gotta go through that. So, went through my fire and went through the, realizing that, even though, more science never worked for me, I still know that this is real because, I went through certain things to know that this is real. Like, even though I never got the outcome I wanted, I still got the prophet still put me through that. Like, you gotta put yourself in the back burner.
Yeah, you receive the lessons.
You know what I mean? Like,
Simmer,
sit down and
take several seats and simmer.
So, but I still, like, that's why he says, read, study. So you study what he brought. You realize I never lost track of that. Even doing my time, I gain more, like, insight on more science because, you have more time. You're sitting back and knowing yourself. You see what I'm saying? Like, you have more time to do that.
I'll just camel back off of the thought you had earlier, just even with those Moors who were kidnapped and all of that whole situation. Even just, I had conversation with people that have never uttered, much less heard someone say Moor or Moorish, right? I had conversations about this whole Moorish thing because they kind of knew that I was into it, but then I heard this on the news and It's like, it served so many purposes on so many different levels, it brought to light, it brought the conversation of Moorish science and Moors being aware that they're Moors and active, and interacting with the colonial bodies. It brought that into light. It was all of a sudden, for a short amount of time, it reached places where it wasn't reaching.
Yeah.
So although those individuals have their own, things to work out with whether or not they're actually in alignment with the will of Allah as they live their lives, that's their own individual thing. But it's so intricate that even those experiences for them it's adding to it. You know what I mean? It's taking away in some aspect, but in others it's adding onto it. It's such a large web that none of us is in any position to be able to say, okay, well, this is why, and we just have to watch and take heed and learn and receive whatever lessons you're supposed to receive from each thing, right? Yeah, Islam, sorry to cut you.
Islam.
Like what Prophet said, all my true and faithful ones.
Mhm.
And I had to look that up lawfully, true and faithful ones.
Yeah.
And he also said, what makes a man is free national standards and character. Just like you were saying earlier, people can have the badge and the office and the building and all that stuff, but if you have no national character, you don't have nothing.
You have nothing. It's just a seat.
It's just a show. That's all it is. It's just a movie set.
Just a shower.
Truman Show.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So it's like some people looking for some building, like, oh, where's the Moorish building?
Where's the Moors, this and
You don't
that.
understand, but you're the Moor. Where's your building? Then people want to stay silent and say, but the Moors are supposed to have something for me. That's how everything's divine. That's how you can tell who's trying to put in versus take away.
Be taken away,
You know what I mean? Who's coming into this for a benefit? Because even when you said earlier, at the time Moor started to work for you, it did, because you're here for it. You know what I mean? You're here. It
didn't work based on what your lower self wanted out of your situation. You know what I mean? You got yourself into that experience. You needed an out. It didn't necessarily work like that, but it completely changed and transformed you.
Well, getting caught up in its straw.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it didn't work necessarily that way,
Right.
but it worked in order to shift you from being on that path into now being in a completely different path. It worked. It did what it was supposed to do. You just wanted it, you decided you wanted it to help you in that way. And that wasn't what Allah was offering, you know?
It's a test.
So,
Yeah.
Those who come closer to Allah usually get tested.
Yeah.
So,
definitely.
100%.
Mhm.
Because I always think about it like this: every prophet fulfilled their mission, but to the physical-minded person, none of them fulfilled their mission.
Yeah,
If you
they
really
all
look at
failed.
it, you know, they all failed. It's all the physical people.
Yeah.
You know, oh, Jesus should have had world peace, and Muhammad should have did this, and no, Charlie should have had. Oh, you guys all should have this. No, you don't get it. He did it. He did everything.
Yeah.
We're supposed to come after and do it ourselves. We're not supposed to sit back and just have somebody else do it for us.
Do it for us.
There's no point in that.
Allah sends you a prophet to give you the message. Did you hear it or not? That's up to you.
Yeah. Message is there. Yeah. Or a message was
You
brought.
see prophets over and over and over. You're still in here. Okay, all right. When that sun sets in the other direction, be ready.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a day of excitement.
Yeah.
On like Donkey Kong on that day.
If you look at the Vatican now, and they're saying how they're gonna amend God's name to they or something like that.
Like, what does that even mean?
And, you know, I mean, anybody that's not studying,
Yeah.
paying attention to what's really going on,
Yeah.
you're gonna get lost in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Because that right there, it's like they're kind of, it's like, you know, the physical mind is like, oh, they're trying to, you know, make God a charity, but at the same time, it's like it's kind of, they're giving it away. It's like, who's God? You guys are.
Yeah.
You know, they're gods. You know,
Yeah.
seek ye the kingdom of heaven, and
True.
everything will be granted unto you.
It just makes it that much more funny.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is really a joke to
It's
you
really,
guys.
it's really a
This is
joke.
one big
Yeah.
play joke. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. It's really a play.
Yeah.
And they know that majority of society are true men,
Mhm.
and they're gonna keep playing the movie roles with them.
Yeah.
You know what I
Getting
mean?
caught up in the
Yeah.
emotion of all the action.
Yeah.
100%.
They're gonna keep doing it.
But even that disrupts the energy, because everybody's operating as an employee,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and they're watching all the watchers, right? Like they're watching how we move here now because they're working for them.
Mhm.
And anybody that's outside of that, they're like, you'll have to look again, kind of thing. Like, why is this brother wearing a turban? Like, why is he dressed like that? Why does he have that funny hat on his? That's not yours, you know. And then it's like they're trying to process, because it's almost like the original person of themselves.
They
knows,
recognize
they
it.
recognize
Yeah.
it, but you know what I mean. They're still caught in the facade of
Yeah, they're caught still.
Yeah.
you know.
A gentleman approached me about a week ago. I was walking and I had a turban and I always have my bindi and I'm just walking doing my thing. And as we crossed paths, he said, "Good morning, Empress." And I just wasn't expecting it, not from his avatar,
Yeah.
you know, and I went, "Oh, good morning," you know, and I thought, "Oh, shucks, okay, he caught on. He's in the realm, he's
Yeah,
not the others," you know?
Yeah.
And it caught me off guard that there's things that the symbols are actually playing a very large role in, you know, stepping their mind outside of wherever they're at and into this space, because they don't know how to respond to it almost. They're not sure, so they treat it like it's holy. Oh, excuse me, you know, I get the door held all the time.
Yeah.
You know, if I drop something, someone's picking it up. I don't even have to bend down, you know, but it's the symbols that they recognize and they realize there's something different, you know. If I've been taking the train lately and sitting, and I don't do anything on TTC except for meditate. It's just what I do. I don't wish to really interact with anybody.
Yeah.
And so whatever is happening within me, I'm sure people are, whether they're aware of it or not, they're receiving something. And sometimes I'll look up and people are like,
Yeah.
you know, dead staring at my eyes closed, and I'm like, oh shucks, you know, like whoops, it's going too deep there, you know,
Yeah.
it shook up the whole spot.
That's what I'm saying. Like it speaks to the power that we carry,
Yeah.
right? When we're aware, right?
Yeah.
It's only when we're not aware and we're doing the other things that are carnal or whatever, the work and everything that they're so used to seeing that
Mhm.
you know what I mean? When one of us steps outside of that now, they're like, they want to treat us.
Yeah.
Step out of the way. Oh, sorry, sir.
Yeah,
You know?
you know?
Yeah.
So you do recognize, you do know what's, you know.
100%.
We all know.
Yeah.
100%.
Even the children, like I said, I was at a European's house, and the book, they had a bookshelf. You know, like the majority of European houses I go to, they have books in their house, like, all over the place. Except for our people surround us.
Mm-hmm.
We got Nikes and
Yeah,
liquor,
yeah.
and it's crazy.
Liquor. You got 6 bottles of Crown
Right,
Royal.
we definitely got Bible. Yeah, yeah.
We definitely have a Bible.
Yeah.
But like I said, even the children know, like from their young ages, like they're taught about what's black.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I seen a book that said Black Beauty, and it was a horse.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about
Oh yeah, Black Beauty. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the horse.
Yeah.
The horse, Black Beauty. It's not no human.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they're taught mentally, they're like psychologically, they're taught like that's not humans are black, the horse is black, so they can't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Make the stallion.
The
Yeah.
stallion.
Exactly.
But they all know this stuff, you know what I mean? People know, they're taught. So we shouldn't be, you know, we should just be acting on it and just carrying out the God's words.
Mhm.
100%. Because even with the energy you're saying, yeah, I feel like that people, I mean, that in itself, a lot of our people kind of overlook. You know, just having the energy, having that national energy, just being yourself
In the room.
It's in the room. It makes people look at you. 100%. You just having a different character than everybody else.
Than everybody else.
Like, yo, like
Yeah.
you're just all of a sudden you're
Every
interesting.
eye's on you.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're like the most interesting person in the room now. And you just didn't do anything. You're just
Yeah, you're just there.
Yeah.
Just popping up.
Like, oh, shoot. Do I have
Just
room?
there.
You know?
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Every time I pull out my phone, just like, oh, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
It's like I was in the store, like real quick. I was in the store the other day. This I'm singing man just came through. You know, just noticed my turban. He just said, yo, I like the tip and still.
Yeah.
Tell me, remember, I want to do it like that. Just one day. I'm just like, I don't know.
Whenever you're
And so,
ready.
you know, like, I don't know. I just kept it moving.
Yeah.
But you know, you just kept looking at my head top. You know, you just like, oh, you're turban.
Yeah, that's not, you don't just have a towel on your head. You don't
Yeah,
just have a wrap on your head. That's a
T-shirt
turban.
wrapped on
Yeah,
your head.
that's
or
a
whatever.
turban. Exactly.
Yeah.
Character speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, waiting for you.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. And again, that's part of the whole brothers from the east are gonna save us, because how much energy do Moors get from those little interactions? You know what I mean? That we're gonna pass how many people in our community and zip the lip. They ain't got nothing to say. They got no comment. They got no anything.
In fact,
But
they
then-
probably look away.
Yeah, looking away, you know what I mean? Cross the street, whatever it is that they do when they see Moors. But then all these people from anywhere across the Atlantic, they come over here and they see Moors, and it's a spectacle. You know what I mean? It's something to them. It's something so not just a modern instance, but something that connects them to some ancient thing for them. You know what I mean? Wherever they're from. You know, and it just goes to show what the type of work that went in to have our people in this blinded ideal when it comes to history, when it comes to things that actually matter in our evolution as beings. You know what I mean? Our people would evolve so much more if they considered some Moors, if they considered listening to what the Moors are saying, studying what the Moors are studying or whatever, opposed to whatever they think they should be involved in. It's crazy.
Even the music.
It's crazy.
Even like some people, like they might get stopped, or I'm not gonna say who, but like certain people I know, they might get stopped and they think that it's gonna work for them, but Like you just came from McDonald's. You just came on, before that you came from from a very, suspicious place.
You
Yeah.
only have to stop at McDonald's.
You understand me? You know what I mean? But like it gets worse from there. You got the suspicious places, talking to suspect people.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you're over here bumping loud, super loud music.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're talking about, why is this not working? Because you're
lost in the sauce.
You're lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, again, it's our culture. What is it known as? The culture's in the language.
Yeah.
Right? And what's music made of nowadays?
Yeah.
There's a lot of lyrics in the language, right?
Maybe lyrics.
But
More mumbling, if they ask me.
the youngest know what it is.
Yeah.
Look at it like
They make it up.
they know exactly what it is.
I can't even listen to rap.
But not even the words mean what the words mean.
I'm going like to my parents' generation when they're dance hall. I got knocked with no business, just rap music.
90s dance halls.
Yeah.
100%.
Everybody's so caught in being the product, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you think of like WWE or Vince McMahon, it's like really everybody's acting out like a character now,
Mhm.
like something that they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because, like I said, I've been taking the train often now, and it's like sometimes I'll just intentionally outwardly push my energy, and you see them scatter like roaches.
Yeah.
I can't be in this space with you. Like
Yeah.
even the ones who act like they're crazy,
Oh yeah.
and they're talking loud in the space, and I just step on the train, and I'm like,
They're not crazy anymore.
let's just take a breath together here, Like, and then all of a sudden they're not crazy and they're walking. It's like you can see them. They literally put on the mask and walk out of their door confidently, believing that the rest of the world is believing in the nonsense that they're portraying.
Well, what breaks my heart, what breaks me a little bit is when I go to stores and stuff like that, and there'll be people in front of me at the line in the cash out line, and if it's a sister, she'll greet most of the Europeans and whoever is in front of her, but as soon as I get up to her or whatever, she won't even say.
Yeah.
That's why you say, "Good morning,
Yeah.
Empress. How are you? It's great to see you this day." How I look at you.
That pressure.
I do it
That
over
pressure
the
on
top, outrageously happy.
Yeah.
Oh man, those are the ones. It's almost like you have to open the space for them.
For them, yeah.
Because I remember when the first Moor I ever met in the flesh was Rock Halal, and he's so tall. And he's just big. And I'm like, I bowed. I went this, like, whoa, like it's just the energy.
Yeah.
And it's just raw. He's just doing his thing. He didn't even notice me. He doesn't have any memory of the moment.
Yeah.
But to me, it was like this huge thing. Like, what in the world? That's a lot. It's very overwhelming to them. If we have to get comfortable being that overwhelming energy in the room and just be regardless, and outwardly say, "Good morning, it's good to see you." Because I work a lot with Jewish children, and many times especially if I have my turban on, those Jewish puppies don't want anything to do with me.
Yeah.
They will hold the door and let it go when I walk through. And I'll turn and say, you almost got me, but I made it. And they just keep moving.
Good
and they
try.
don't know what to do.
Good try.
It's like no matter what, if you offer them the energy, even if you stuff it down their throat, they have to receive it.
Peace, man.
Yeah.
100%. For real. You were speaking on this sports energy, like me, like I have my little Aquarius vibes, so I don't like to be seen by people. When I'm on road, I'm walking, don't chat to me unless I know you.
Destination only.
Unless I know you like that, or I'm real cool with you, don't chat to me. But I have to realize when you're being self, like you're being your studio self, you're being your more self. But people, you're gonna literally just cross paths with people even when you don't want to. You'll try to miss that bus because I'm not trying to be around that crowd. But the second you try to miss that bus, then it's like that one person you just really don't want to talk to.
Yeah.
That's when they come to meet you, and it's
Right
just
next to you.
and then later on I have to realize, because you're the more, that's what people need to see. You're the wake up call. So
Yeah.
you being seen, even if people don't talk to you, they're gonna look back and be like, oh,
What was that?
Yeah.
I told you I seen a video the other day of a man with a turban and two twos on the bus. As he
Right on turban,
They're like, wow, life, man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
That's the ones. talk my old job. Talk about my friend there, and he said he doesn't whip you. He's at the gas station, takes a picture. I saw more.
Yeah.
Pictures, people.
So we gotta know that.
I know exactly what that is. He's like, what, for real? Like, I know
You know him for real?
Trust
Yeah.
me. I'm gonna take you to plates.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Morris, I'm gonna be out. So
Peace.
say peace to everybody before starting in
Peace, peace. All right.
All right, enjoy the rest of the day.
You
Thank
too.
you for the food. Thanks a lot.
Page 74. Admin functions. The word. And this is going back to what we were just talking about with us being. You know what I mean? Moore's being. Moore's making sure that they are being what Allah wants you to be, because you have a position in this. Once we start saying that we're Moors and all that, we have a position. The word. Setting on their points and eager to undertake their task of developing undeveloped minds, these servants of the nation are working the tools of the mind for the upliftment of fallen humanity. Called to come forth are our honorable and dedicated Morris Society Sunday School instructors, pedologists, and teachers. Veneration and honors to our Moorish educators. Entrusted to these good, moral, upstanding members and citizens of the Moorish nation and temples of science, these dedicated cultivators have taken on a vital role in society. They place their hands and time on the very wealth of our Moorish society, and with certainty, they are primary trustees of our Moorish posterity as intellectual nurturers of our Moorish babies. 1. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Divine and National Movement and our redeeming Nabi and guide, instructs us to teach the children early in the way to God Allah, and this path they will not stray from. We as members of the Moorish Society must pave the way with zeal and integrity and strive to be positive examples for the youth and for the newly conscious Moors. Simply attending our Sunday school meetings and sending our children to their Sunday school classes is basic to organization supports. The greater is to be actively productive and demonstrating fruition co-joined with that attendance. 3. Here, the Sunday school teacher has the divine duty of revealing to the child and the parent the gift that Allah has given them, teaching them to make the most of one's given talents and to secure adequate compensation, return for one's labor. And then keep in mind, this is going to the Moorish educators, teachers, etc. But we're expanding this to everybody who says that they're Moors and who knows that they're not Negro, black, colored. And once you know that, then you should be ready to put somebody else on game. 4, our Moorish Society School aims are to recognize and cultivate and to stimulate all potentials in a member's abilities and talents and accentuates them by teaching many important skills. Our school provides levels of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that helps make students useful and productive members of our Moorish society and of the temples. We teach our members about their obligations as members and citizens of this free national republic and present those responsibilities with reason and functionality. We teach the reciprocal need for learning about and respecting the rights of others and about the advantages and benefits of living cooperatively with others of different faith. With proper humanitarian instructions, members should demonstrate and reflect the same in other communities. We also teach the importance of responsible health maintenance of the body. Right. So going back again to once in your studies you get to that place of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Now you have the responsibility to exercise that. You have the ability to teach these things necessary to others, whether they embrace it or accept it or whatever or not. The point of the matter is that they can't say that Amor didn't tell them. They can't say, well, they're going to say, well, so-and-so didn't say it and so-and-so didn't, but they can't say Amor's never told them. Right? Any thoughts on any of those before we carry on?
That's one we comment that
Yeah.
you could say like, the problems in that, and I'm reading this, and it's like it's just the whole solution. Right? That's why I love this, you know what I mean? Because the solution is just right there.
It's right there. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
The word not be used?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was popular.
Yeah.
So, I remember I heard that. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, right there.
Yeah. Mhm. 5, our Moore Society School aspires to grow and establish all grades of school, ascending from nursery to kindergarten to elementary to junior to middle to high to college and universities. We also aspire to establish a Moorish Hall of Learning and to constructively organize school boards as needed, etc. Therefore, we recognize that education is important. It not only produces well-rounded members of society, it also promotes confidence and unity. And unity is a necessary component for stimulating national progress. So when we go to all these other nations that are in governments, and the governments are violating them or whatever the case is, and then they put all their people in the street, and for whatever that day is, nobody doesn't go to work, nobody doesn't do whatever, everybody's out in the street, everybody has the one flag, everybody has the one idea. There's not 50 different ideas floating around. Everybody's stuff is going in the same direction, right? Right, the unity that is necessary, that is a necessary component for stimulating national progress. When we look at, I was talking with somebody about this the other day. I think it was on a live. We were talking about the independent Afrocentric schools that they used to have here in the 90s, and then how all those got destabilized because of the colonials having a free black school. And then everybody took all their students out the independent schools and sent them to the black school. And then in a month's time, all those independent schools were no more. Right? Just because these Europeans said free. And then that was the 90s. So we're talking about we're looking at depending on the school, you were looking at 800 to about 1,000, 800 to about 1,000, 1,300 a month for the school, right? That was it was in, some of them were in buildings, some of them were at people's house, some of them were at churches in the basement, whatever. There was a place where they were getting, the right food. They were getting all the lessons from nursery to kindergarten to elementary to junior to middle to high to college and universities. They were getting all that in the Afrocentric schools, right? Independent, no Canada funding, no Ontario funding, no Toronto funding, just parents realizing that we need to get our children out these institutions because they're doing nothing for our children, and putting them in our own institutions. And that's how those things survive. At this time, if they carried that on, they would have their own school board right now. Afrocentric school board, where they have 5 or 8 or how many ever schools under this board, and all students go in there, whether they implement, uniform, public, whatever like that, doesn't matter. But it would have been our own. We would have had. But it goes back to that thing of once we're playing in the realm of the classifications and not the true identities, things aren't going to last anyways, which is why the Afrocentric independent schools failed. And then after everybody left that and went to the colonist school for black whatever, even that failed.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask them that.
Yeah, they had so much issues with that. For one, they were sharing a school, so it wasn't like their own school. There was a public school, and then they had a section of the public school to do the black school, which was at that point people should have realized this is some BS. Let's go back to the independent school, because we didn't know that it was gonna be this, right? There was that. There was the different principles that they had in there that, whether these people weren't qualified or whatever the case is, it wasn't really accepted by the people that this individual is the one that should be running stuff. Like, why them, or whatever the case is, right? They go in, they don't like them, they get moved out, somebody else comes in, and then they're worse than the guy who was before them, or whatever, right?
So you can be driving a Mercedes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
That's some planned obsolescence right there.
Yeah, definitely,
Planned obsolescence.
definitely.
That's very slick.
And it's not even like the people who they brought in for the colonist black school. It's not like the people that they brought in were some no-name people. These are people who were from the community. Everybody knew these people, and they had them in the seat of principal power, and stuff still felt having these individuals in the seat who, if they're in the seat, this stuff should be running tight. If these particular people are in the seat of power, right? And stuff didn't run tight.
So you stray away from your own.
Yeah.
That's also how you know nationality is ordered today.
Yeah.
Because you can't, nothing, like an idea, like it can be put out there, but it's not gonna last like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because black is an idea, no, that's not.
Yeah.
So if that had been some national standard, then people wouldn't even have the mindset to be like, oh, let's bring our children over there because it's free.
Yeah.
Having that national mindset would have been like, I don't care if it's free, I don't care if they're paying us to go there.
To good. We're not
You know what I
doing
mean? Like, we're not going because the nation matters more.
But it reminds me of when the Circle 7 mentions time is an illusion.
Mhm.
You say how, like the illusion of this idea of it's gonna pass, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna pass.
Yeah.
The illusion of nation, like the nation part now, it's not an illusion, it's something that.
Yeah, it's reality.
It's reality.
Yeah, it's tangible.
Right.
It's reality.
Mhm.
Especially, even adding to that, especially our nation, because earlier we just said, our power is vested in prophet, and the
Yeah.
prophet's power is vested in the law.
Mm-hmm.
So one that makes 1,000 times more sense why they want to hide Noble Drew Ali and not even teach about him, because that kills everything.
Everything.
But what I was gonna get to was
It's like the one move chess play, right?
Mm.
One move kills
exactly
it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So I forgot I was gonna go with it. But, I forgot I was gonna go with it. But
Yeah.
I'll remember. Yeah.
6, our Moore Society school curriculum. Education shall be Islamism, applied science, covering all aspects of life. Thus, we will address social skills, morals, ethics, the arts and sciences, race pride and principles, religious instruction, prayer, fasting, charity, faith and Hajj, political science, republic principles, the divine and national movement, economics, compensation for one's skills, law of reciprocity, culture, knowledge of your past, enabling you to know the present and to foresee a future, jurisprudence, judicial and extrajudicial instructions, etc. This and more shall be done with all the attachments, habits, values, etiquette, and correct attitude. This broad base of education encompasses and accomplishes our way of life, our customs, and from the ancient customs of a people, the common law is derived. The purpose of Moorish education is to restore the ancient Moorish standard of philology, to reinstate high culture disciplines, to reintroduce Moors to many ancient truths once removed by Roman Inquisition policies, to acquire functional knowledge, intellectual disciplines, advocate knowledge of the rights and duties of citizenship, promote the codes of etiquette, enhance individual and family development, institute activities involving vocational training and craftsmanship, and teach the spiritual principles of character building, etc. Right, so our Moor society school and curriculum needs everybody who has whatever skill in order for it to be a functioning thing for everybody. Whatever the skill is, whatever you think you know, is probably something that could be used in the Moorish institution. Whatever it is you think you know, because we know that in a colonized position, we're not going to have all these things just at the drop of a hat. We could just do them. We're going to have to do some hunting. We're going to have to do some outreach to find the individuals who are going to be able to allow us to teach the certain things that are necessary, so that, you know, the heirs are going to be groomed again from nursery to kindergarten to elementary to junior to middle to high to college and universities, covering all aspects: social skills, morals, ethics, arts and science, race pride and principles, religious instruction, prayer, fasting, charity, faith and Hajj, political science, republic principles, the divine and national movement, economics, compensation for one's skills, culture, knowledge of our past, jurisprudence, judicial and extrajudicial instructions, values, habits, etiquette, correct attitude, going down the line, right? The ancient truths, knowledge of the rights and duties of citizenship, the codes of etiquette, enhancing the individual and family development, all these things, you know, vocational training, craftsmanship, all these things are needed. There's a campaign right now with the school board to bring back trades, because so many trades have been lost because of whatever they're lost. So now they're looking at getting the trades back up, because they realize that the business stuff is BS. Unless you're doing some online crypto whatever, ain't no business stuff going on. People still paranoid. They're not even going into stores and all that stuff right now, right? The trades that are there right now are supremely underfunded. You know what I mean? Trade teachers have to go in their own pockets to fund their departments that should be funded by the school. That they're paying their own way, or their whatever connections they got, to make sure that there's, you know, scrap metal for metal class, and scrap wood for woodworking, and, you know, they don't even have for mechanics. They don't even have old engines or whatever like that to work on. They're working on people's rides in order to get the practice or the expertise or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? You know? So when that came to me when it brought up in here about craftsmanship, and we have all these Moors who have some type of ability in some type of trade, that having a institution for each of these trades would be a benefit to the nation as a whole, right? They also brought up when they were talking about the school boards, right? On top of school boards, you know, the idea of the unions, but then having the businesses, so that these people who are part of these quote unquote indigenous, Moorish, whatever unions, they're working for businesses that are indigenous Moorish. They're not working for some colonial business that are going to be violating them when they start talking about rights and, you know, well, you know, how come, you know, bathrooms aren't clean or whatever like that, and people not doing that job, and how come it's not done, and how come my boss is an asshole and I can't do nothing about it, I just have to hold that and all that stuff, when there should be somewhere for you to go to get that dealt with no questions. You know what I mean?
Would it have ever served us to work with the natives, like go and learn some of the hunting techniques, fishing techniques,
even things like that, you know? And then that goes into the thing with how they have camp, summer camp, or whatever like that, or how they have
the scouts and stuff,
the stuff like that. You know what I mean? Boy Scouts, Girl Guides, and all that stuff. Honorariums, people coming in to give certain instructions on certain things, you know, and that's as easy as, you know, finding some quote unquote natives, you know, that have those skills that we can say, okay, well, you know, we're gonna send a delegation of youth to wherever, and they're gonna go there for a week, and then they're gonna come back with whatever skills that they got. You know what I mean? Yeah, how to do certain things in nature, just because that should be, you know, basic instructions. You should just know how to do that. You know what I mean? No different than when we were coming up, and we had you know, programs, after school programs or whatever like that. They don't even have that stuff like that now, you know, because everything is some online thing. Nothing is hands-on anymore. You know what I mean? You know, people are gonna go play damn pool on the screen. You know what I mean? They're not gonna go to the court or whatever like that, put on a headset, and they go on the screen and play basketball. You know what I mean? You know? Yeah, it's where the democracy has led to. The democracy has led to this place that society is slowly falling apart, even though, you know, it's keeping itself together, because the people are only going to fall so far till they come to their senses and say, well, we got to do something about this, you know.
Finite stuff, right?
Yeah.
The finite idea of democracy, the whole idea of the demo. You know, it's the demo.
Yeah.
It's a demo. It's an after expiry date.
Yeah. Just like when you go to whatever these stores with products, and they got the demo on the shelf, you know, and everybody's touching it, everybody's playing with it, everybody's dropping it, everybody's doing whatever like that, because that's not the actual factual. You know what I mean? They're not selling that after. that's just there as display. Same thing with democratic form. It's just there as display. But then if you believe that that's what it is, and then that's the form of government or whatever like that, well then now you're gonna take the demo home and then plug in your whatever and stuff's not working. Screen's black and all this stuff, and well, why is this whatever? And then oh sorry, we sold you the demo. Right.
That's crazy. Even saying that, it's the demo. Even the gamers know this. Like at one point, you see
demo movies.
the demos are this or not. Like back in the day, you see they sold like a full game with everything in it. You know what I mean? No updates, no nothing like that. Nowadays, people are getting like half the game, and then the rest of the game they have to pay more for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
But I feel it's one of those where it's like I feel like this is why I guess the prophet seen us coming, knowing that all right, but we gave authority to the U.S. Republic,
Yeah.
So prophet coming back, it's like they would have to switch it up and try to make it a democracy.
Yeah.
But in a sense, it's like he brought something that will it'll tear them up, instead of tearing us up. So a democracy is it's never gonna last because it's in a sense kind of based on consumerism.
Yeah. It's not a
Everybody's mindset nowadays, everybody's messed up.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they can just buy a skill. Like it's a video game. Like they can just spend some coins and like they can just up the level of their skill, and it doesn't even work like that.
So you spend Monopoly.
100%. A lot of these were told to just stay inside. They never had no experience in life in general.
Yeah.
The whole experience, the whole experience of life is the screen.
Yeah.
It's like with the trolls nowadays that more experience. A lot of these trolls were those youths that back in the day. Well, I'm just guessing that they were those youths back in the day that they went around bothering people, and then when they got their ass whooped, they went to go tell their mom always come save them.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with it's like the internet. It's easy to be a troll on the internet. It's easy to try to diss people and be this persona on the internet because nobody has seen you in real life.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays with the mask, it's even better because now people can actually take pictures on the block, have a mask on, and there's no real consequences nowadays. Back in the day, you had to really be part of something to be known as something.
Yeah.
You couldn't, you couldn't be online saying, I'm a Moor, and then go on road, people see you, you're acting like a nigger.
Yeah.
They're just gonna call you a nigger. It's just not gonna work.
Nice.
It's just the same thing with the hood. Like nowadays, a lot of youths, they're a whole bunch of snitching and all this going on nowadays because they have a whole bunch of youths that acted like they were, tough like that, but they just knew what being tough looked like.
Yeah.
And now they can post a picture and make a all these poses and
be
with people, make it look like they're
like
tough.
that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when they really get paid,
I saw they were killing John Morant about that a couple of days ago or something. Yeah.
I heard about
They were killing him with that. Like, bro, you got 2-family household and all this. You went to like private school and all this stuff. Like,
What happened? I never read it.
it's not real.
What did they call him? Saying he was a gangster or something?
No, he was the persona. Going back to the persona, the persona, this tough guy persona thing or whatever like that. When like you never seen a roach ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You never know what struggle is, or having a hard life or anything like that. It's all this. Who you hang around. Pictures with certain people make you look like you got something going on.
Like I just seen something with Jadakiss come out the other day too.
Yeah.
Pops was saying, you grew up in a nice household, you went to a private school and everything like that. Jadakiss,
I love these dudes.
what's that?
Yeah.
I grew up listening to Jadakiss. Hearing that stuff is just like, it's heartbreaking.
It's crazy.
It's
Crazy.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, that was another one.
Black Man's True Sentences. I used to sing your lyrics. And
Yeah.
and Tutu, it was fake.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
There's big, he got freaking, well, he has a few good tracks too. The way he sings on his tracks, it's like, yo, this man's coming from the bottom.
Yeah.
You think so? You think so? And then you find out it's just like, yo, that was all a lie.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Persona. The WWE, because even like for when I was like 18, when I was like 16, 18 growing up, and I got my driver's license 10 times, and then when I see like my younger brother or certain kids come out now, and it's like they don't have to do those things anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just whether it's easier for them or or they have more access to these things. It's like they feel like they don't have to push it. So then we've been raising these generations of like almost infants now, where everybody's like, I want to be a cat, I want to be a dog, I want to be this. And then, oh, okay.
Yeah, you could be that.
You
Yeah.
could be that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and now we're going into that so far to the left on the political spectrum that we feel like we need to depend on the government to keep fighting for the people, and to give us these rights. And it's like, well, the rights didn't even belong to you because your parents are coming from over there.
Yeah.
Well, not even that. To add on to that, when you said, like in democracy, it's all about consumerism, right? It's all about consumerism, so it's never for the people.
But I'm saying they're selling it to the people that they can have all of that.
Desires, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Desire that they can have this freedom, they can have all these things, and it's like this is not even yours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're just borrowing, you're leasing this, from the real inhabitants, the real owners, indigenous people of this land. You know what I mean? And they're allowing you to occupy that space with them.
Yeah.
They're just getting caught up in it, right?
Yeah.
They don't believe in the creator. They don't. They say they do.
They don't.
But if you believe in the creator, right, and your ancestors followed a certain way of lifestyle.
Mhm.
Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Government says do this. You can do it. You know, your creator, your ancestors, your prophets all said, like, yo, bro, you don't do this. Government comes out, says, yo, it's legal, it's morally right. That everyone's going with it. Because that's their God, their desire, that's their God.
But I think that's where they're getting the progressive idea, because when I meet a lot of the people come from Asiatic nations and stuff like that left their country now, and when they left Sunni or the Sharia Islam behind or whatever, they might be over here eating some pork or something like that. Or they might be doing something because they're like, oh, we can kind of ease off now. We don't really need
So we're not in the
Not in the area where it's proper.
where they're gonna take your head.
Thanks for haram is everything. Yeah. It's like,
Actually, because I was at his mom's doing some work on his mom's house, and him and I had the opportunity to talk. And one of the things I noticed you mentioned was the Muslims. The practice for them is when they go to use the washroom, number one. When they go to number one, they have to sit down.
Yeah.
What I noticed is a lot of these guys that are claiming to be, because the majority of them that come from the East are practicing Muslim, like it is, practicing their belief as Muslims, right? They don't do that stuff. Like, so I work around a lot of the Muslims. They don't do a lot of the practices that they say they're supposed to go. And then Mom mentioned that. He goes, a lot of them don't go by. A lot of them don't practice it like that. But it's just all a big facade.
They're like bending the.
Yeah. They came here and they probably didn't realize that they became Satanists too.
Yeah.
Because even like a lot of the Malis, like a lot of them copy a lot of our mannerisms, and a lot of our lifestyle, stuff that we did. This cowboy gangster lifestyle. That's more like a Yardi thing. That wasn't like you know what I mean. That wasn't like something that the Malis would do. They're all like
You definitely heard about like 10, 20 years ago.
Trust, like even like no disrespect to the Malis, but back in the day, like they're like very skinny, very frail. So it'll take like they know this, but like one of us could take on probably like 5 of them. And it's like it wouldn't really be much. Nowadays they're all tough and they're all Like everything's different. They change who they are. This place changed them a lot.
Mhm.
A lot.
But to add on to that, it's almost, I realize that that's why a lot of them come over here and they'll claim the religious school, the status, right, of the religion now, because they're not going to claim their nationality. And then even, you have the same Indian guy that's on the basketball guy with the turban and the cardio shit. You have guys like that. You have guys like that now that are put in these places, and it's like they're so patriotic about being Canadian because they want to keep the sale, right? It's like, you know what I mean, sell it, right? Because you're not gonna say, "Oh, I'm Indian," you know what I mean? Because you're already representing yourself as such, right? And we're looking at you, and you're like, "Well, you're not Canadian, but he is to sell it, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, everybody can be Canadian," so they'll take the patriotism over the nationalism, I feel like, right? Because it's easier for them to just make that sell, right?
Yeah. Which going back to the thing of democracy being about consumerism.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That they're gonna, the Asian. You know what I mean? They dress their way, they have their food stuff that they do or whatever like that, but their store is gonna get your finance too. They ain't there to serve their own people. They're there to be the, Canadian, Asian, whatever. And reap all the benefits, reap all the rewards, reap everything that they could reap, while at the same time, sister go into the store, go get her nails done. They're telling her about her stink feet and their language and all that stuff, and they're still going back there. You know what I mean? Knowing that they're talking about them and all that stuff or whatever.
It's funny because I seen an Asian school, like a Chinese school there's a Catholic Chinese school. In Burlington.
A couple of them you go to
Like
market.
you said, they're really
Yeah.
they're really taking part in that whole allow themselves to be consumed.
Yeah.
But even to add on to that too, like you go to a lot of these communities now, the Eastern Asian people, it's like, they have stores now, they have banks, and they have schools and all these things like that, Arabs and all of them, right? Their own products even on the shelves and everything like that. And you're gonna have to go to their suppliers to even get, because you can't just go to a GFS or a Cisco and try to
get certain things.
Get certain things. So they have to have their own product. A lot of the WalMarts now are switching over to Al Premium now, which is an Arab supplier, Middle Eastern supplier, or whatever. And you know what I mean? It's like, they're having to depend on them. It's like we're still having to go to them to go be our suppliers, right? We don't even have our own, beauty supply stores. We'll have it on a smaller level, but even I'll see like, the African guy will say West African and Caribbean marketplace or something like that, or West African or East African. I'm like, why do we just, why don't we just all just say one nationality or something like that, or why don't you just say you're African and then get all Africans go to that one market store instead of saying, we're West African.
It reminds me of there's a place called Lynn's Listed. It's a market restaurant, Caribbean place in Hamilton. And it's a popular location for all the people in Hamilton. It's like the only location in Hamilton. Everybody knows Lynn's. But what I noticed is the delivery guy is a Chinese man.
What to say? It's a Chinese name in Jamaica.
Right? Yeah, I read that too, right? But the guy that delivers the food, dropping off the food. I noticed one day I was getting out, this guy's so comfortable too. He has one of those hydraulic trucks. He's loudly dropping off the package for the people to consume, And I'm like, I had to ask him, how did you get the contract for this? And it's just, they're laughing.
No comment.
I was shocked. I'm like, where's our
No
people?
comment.
We're not delivering. It's a big location. Everybody
You gotta stop considering them as their people sometimes. They're not thinking like
Because that's part of freedom. They don't consider that.
Yeah.
Like what did the prophet say? The only person who works all the time is a booty. Like aren't like the them type Chinese people are they?
They're in the same realm.
The same realm.
They're in the same realm.
Yep.
They're in the same realm.
That same opportunity.
Yeah.
They'll laugh when you ask them. It's like, how did you get this? He's probably doing like the evil Jojo laugh like, yo.
Good question.
Good question. Not a lot of people like you asking questions. You guys just, just big ass.
Chinese guy, and the fact that the products come from China, and
Yeah.
it's like everything is China,
Mm-hmm.
The curry goes from China.
Yeah. Yeah.
Too much.
Straight.
But that right there is like, it shows the blindness of our people. Like, everybody's prejudiced towards each other. Everybody has this some type of, something to say about, another nationality. But again, it goes back to just, just having a business, having, a steady flow of circulation of funds in our own community.
Yeah.
And it's good that you said that because we're focusing on like the consumerism of it, but in reality, it's like our people or melanated people are the biggest consumers,
Mm-hmm.
but we're also the smallest producers.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about who supplied all of these things, it's like if you go to the black beauty stores, the Chinese man that owns it.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like a shift in mindset that needs to happen from like
Yeah.
strictly consuming to producing.
Yeah.
Big times.
Mhm.
Like I even adding to that, I see. I have. It boggles my head how you have the islands. Probably has like some of the best fruit from across the world. They can make a whole monopoly on that.
Yeah.
It's like some people just rather not,
Yeah. But I mean, part of it too is because of the IMF loans.
Right.
That's part of their loan arrangement is they can't sell their stuff. They could only import.
Right.
You know what I mean? So which is why they have White Castle and all this stuff there, and instead of everybody having a West Indian store. You know what I mean? Or whatever food store for that island. Because majority of it is because of these loans and stuff like that going back again, once they get democratic, right, under this thing of it's a republic, once they get democratic, now they have to contract with the democratic businesses, which majority of them are foreign businesses. They're not gonna be the organic, It was like when in 2017 when I went to Tobago, and they had a man went for lunch and came back with 2 Snickers and a Coke or something. You know what I mean? Right. And then yeah, right. And then like I'm a foreigner, going to visit there, and I'm going to the West Indian spot, like, yo, let me get for you a little bit, some of that, a spoon of that, a spoon of that, a spoon of that. Like, let me try everything from here. And these guys want Snickers and a Coke for lunch. You know what I mean? It's messed up. Messed up.
It's a madness that like Marshalls and all them places, like that's known here.
Yeah.
But like that's supposed to be worldwide.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be going to Jamaica thinking like, have you tried Jamaican KFC?
Yeah.
Jamaican KFC is out of this world.
Yeah,
It's like, nah, bro, that should be a store that's just Jamaican in itself,
Yeah.
That is whatever recipe, and have that worldwide, because we are worldwide. Everywhere we're at, we're gonna support each other.
Mm-hmm.
Same
No,
thing
mindset.
with a lot of the major patty distributors too.
Yeah.
I've been thinking for years. I'm like, why don't we have a major production facility, or at least competing?
Right.
Somebody even competing with Grace, even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, you look at the older generation of what they had, and then a lot of them, maybe they didn't pass it on or whatever. They just took the check and sold their location, whatever. But you go to a lot of these patty distributors, a lot of them are Asian.
Yeah.
Families always.
Yeah.
Well, you go to Tasties.
Yeah.
You go to Tasties too. There's a couple of them run by Asians.
Patty Kings.
A lot of those are Asian.
There's even a new one in Square One, and it's Chinese.
Like everybody's doing our food now.
But they don't just sell patties, though, right? When you go in there, they have other options.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, right? If you give people more than one option, they're more likely to
More
stay.
likely to stay. Yeah.
Like that right there goes back to what you said a couple weeks ago. Right, we were talking about just business in general. Like you're saying you got a couple other options.
Mhm.
Yeah, like a lot of our people can get one-dimensional when we get to opening stores.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's just this and it's just that. Everything else we went out of it.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, we have to be more.
Everybody else,
But I realize part of that pride, right? Because you know, it's coming from having some of the best, producing some of the best music and some of the best food.
Mhm.
But then in reality, it's like if you go to a Drew Petit's in Scarborough, it's like they got the West Indian, they got the Spanish, they got a little bit of the Asian, there's everything going on here. You know what I mean? That they're selling. It's like, oh, wow. And when we're still stuck on, the jerk chicken. That's it. You know.
Mhm.
You could just get it bigger now. You have one
Yeah.
on now. Just
We're big now.
Yeah, probably so. What's
Stop
happening?
trying to get it from
That was very yesterday.
Yeah.
Probably put it on Monday.
Yeah.
Like Prophet said, it was a new type now. No?
Yeah.
So like even you have to be more. You have to have more dimensions to our thinking.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because even
For
with the weed game, I noticed how like a lot of the people that used to go to the hood to get weed went to all these other places because they just had more variety. It wasn't even the fact that they had better.
Yeah, it was better or whatever.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? They
Just
just
more
had a lot of
variety.
variety. And it's just a lot of men in the hood didn't have that mindset. They just had the mindset of, yo, listen, this is what I'm buying off of, and then that's it. People don't like it, and they don't like it. You know what I mean? And then people didn't like it, and then they went where they wanted to go. Now imagine like,
Man got 32 flavors.
Yeah.
and now they're shopping with the people that they're competing against.
Yeah.
But now there's so many competitors now. That's why they're saying stock wise it's not doing well. It's everywhere.
There's too many. Yeah. Too much. Everybody's weeds molding and all that. Can't even sell the damn weed. So much weed.
But that's almost like why I'm thinking they would think to even just call us black then because like there's too much of them.
Yeah.
And you use the word more because when you say more, you're talking about the Arabs, Indians, Americans,
Americans, right? So like,
Australians.
we gotta just cut this down and generalize it.
Mhm.
100%. But you go to the Abyssinians, you go to the Ethiopians and down further thing, they're not doing that. You know exactly what's going on.
I think it's all about it. It's funny. I'm listening to some old school, tracks. I'm listening to Migos when they first came out. I'm like, yo, it's funny. There's a whole track called "Trapping Out the Bando," and a bando stands for abandoned building.
Mm.
So yeah, a man's making thousands of dollars in an abandoned building just for them to get ran out by some colonizers.
Could have bought them.
Could have bought the whole building. Whole blocks.
Could have bought the whole block.
Whole
Yeah.
streets.
Yeah.
Empty building. They're trapping out the bando, making
Yeah.
thousands, but just for them to get raided.
Yeah.
What did J. Cole say? Like they listen to people, or people are now coming out to listen to people mics and people dribble balls.
100%.
Yeah.
That's where no one who actually has intellect and can give you an answer.
100%. And all that's patriarchy too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, listen to a mic and someone dribbling the ball.
Yeah.
That's it.
On the Super Bowl now out there. Imagine
The
that.
Super Bowl's going on today.
I know.
That's today. Yeah.
I know. Crazy.
Know that.
Out the loop. Neither am I. But yeah, it's today. Like it's crazy. Yeah.
Even that's all rigged, bro. I'm done with that.
Yeah. All that stuff.
We know for sure.
It's really a game now.
Somebody was telling me that
Really a
this
game.
is saying this is the first
First they put in place, Chiefs and the what?
Chiefs and the Eagles, and somebody saying this is the first time that they had two
Yeah, Asiatic
Asiatic
quarterbacks or something. Like what?
Super Bowl, huh?
Yeah, the Chiefs and the Fed.
It's like first time. Like all right.
Chiefs and the Phillies. And it's funny because some of our people trying to do it like as if it's like some colonizer versus us, and it's like it's two of our same people.
It's all our stuff.
We're the Eagles, same thing with the Chiefs, it's the same thing.
All our stuff.
The sports league in general, like that's clever in itself. Naming all the teams after all the things that we did. You know,
Yeah.
like all the stuff that we were, like
Mhm.
San Francisco Giants and all these other teams, the Raptors, and this is all stuff that we had here, and they're using it for us to compete against each other.
Trade
Yeah.
deadlines. And
Trade deadlines, all that stuff is genius.
They know exactly what they're doing,
For real.
Exactly what they're doing. We're just gonna do our Quran reading, chapter chapter 44. Chapter 44, misery. Feeble and insufficient as thou art, O man, in good, frail, and inconstant as thou art in pleasure, yet there is a thing in which thou art strong and unshaken. Its name is misery. It is the character of thy being, the prerogative of thy nature. In thy breast alone it resideth. Without thee there is nothing of it. And behold, what is its source but thine own passions? He who gave thee these gave thee also reason to subdue them. Exert it, and thou shalt trample them under thy feet. Thine entrance into the world, is it not shameful? Thy destruction, is it not glorious? Lo, men adorn the instruments of death with gold and gems, and wear them above their garments. He who begetteth a man hideth his face, but he who killeth 1,000 is honored. Know though, notwithstanding, that in this is error. Custom cannot alter the nature of truth, neither can the opinion of man destroy justice. The glory and the shame are misplaced. There is but one way for a man to be produced. There are 1,000 by which he may be destroyed. There is no praise or honor to him who giveth being to another, but triumphs and empire are the rewards of murder. Yet he who hath many children hath many blessings, and he who hath taken away the life of another shall not enjoy his own. While the savage curseth the birth of his son and blesses the death of his father, doth he not call himself a monster? The greatest of all human ills is sorrow. Too much of this thou is born into. Add not unto it by thine own perverseness. Grief is natural to thee, and is always about thee. Pleasure is a stranger, and visiteth thee by times. Use well thy reason, and sorrow shall be cast behind thee. Be prudent, and the visits of joy shall remain long with thee. Every part of thy frame is capable of sorrow, but few and narrow are the paths that lead to delight. Pleasures can be admitted only simply, but pains rush in 1,000 at a time. As the blades of straw fadeth as soon as it is kindled, so passeth away the brightness of joy, and thou knowest not what become of it. Sorrow is frequent, pleasure is rare. Pain cometh of itself, delight must be purchased. Grief is unmixed, but joy wanteth not its alloy of bitterness. As the soundest health is less perceived than the lightest malady, so is the highest joy touches us less deep than the smallest sorrow. We are in love with anguish. We often fly from pleasure. When we purchase it, costeth it not more than it is worth? Reflection is the business of man, a sense of his state in his first duty. But who remembereth himself a boy? Is it not in mercy then that sorrow is allotted unto us? Man foreseeth the evil that it is to come. He remembereth it when it is past. He considereth not that the thought of affliction woundeth deeper than the affliction itself. Think not of thy pain, but when it is upon thee, and thou shalt avoid what most hurt thee. He who weepeth before he needeth, weepeth more than he needeth. And why? But that is loveth weeping. The stag weepeth not until the spear is lifted against him, nor do the tears of the beaver fall till the hound is ready to seize him. Man anticipateth death by the apprehension of it, and the fear is greater misery than the event itself. Be always prepared to give an account of thine actions, and the best death is that which is least premeditated. Islam. All right. Man foreseeth the evil that is to come. He remembereth when it is past. He considereth not the thought of affliction woundeth deeper than the affliction itself. Think not of thy pain, but when it is upon thee, and thou shalt avoid what most hurt thee. Think not of thy pain, but when it is upon thee. He who weepeth before he needeth, weepeth more than he needeth. And why? But that he loveth weeping. Big facts. Right? That was like the hard to kill. Stop the crying. Stop, stop the crying. You cried for. Everybody must dead. You cried for. Mark for death. Everybody must dead. Man anticipateth death by the apprehension of it. I think in that same thing there was a thing in there too about anticipation of death is scarier than death itself.
So that's like you shouldn't count your days. You should just live.
Yep.
You know, as far as
Yeah.
when people say that's like the deeper meaning to when people say age. Age is just a number.
Just a number. Yeah.
It's a deeper meaning. If you just keep counting the fact of like, well, I'm 46. I'm about like 40 years.
40 more years left on it. Yeah.
You know, like that 40 years gonna pass by until you're dead.
For real.
You have to just live in the moment. Facts.
You might get caught up and then curse yourself, end up to be here for 120. It's just you suffering, mad at yourself.
For real.
I was 23 and 9 together. I put 23 and 9 together. Yet, this number 9 is that you have made children have many blessings, and if you have taken away life from another, shall not enjoy his own. And then it says at the end, be always prepared to give an account of thine action. And the best death is that which is least premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the whole premeditation of the whole thing of not enjoying your own life if you take someone else's, and the premeditated part. It says that, and the best.
Oh, sorry, premediated. Premediated.
No, premeditated.
You said meditated in there?
Yeah.
Got mediated in this one.
Yeah, premeditated. It's usually meditated. But
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I just found it like how it's all in mind. You're not going to enjoy your own. It finishes off. So number 9, completion is number 9, right? So it said that you have many children. It says, shall not enjoy his own life if you take a life from another, and then finishes off by saying, and the best death is that which is least premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
So you incorporate meditating the death of someone else, taking someone else's life, and then that's like take someone else's life and pretty much took your life because now you can't enjoy your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just it's premeditated for me now.
Yeah.
You meditate on taking someone else's life, and it's just divine how it's all like the number 9 and the 23 was 5, and we put it as the last. Just found that.
Yeah.
On that part.
So you said divinely prepared.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on 16?
Sorrow is frequent, pleasure is rare.
Yeah.
And pain cometh with itself. And delight must be purchased, grief is unmixed, but joy wanteth not. It's on the way of bitterness.
Yeah, grief is unmixed, but joy wanted not. It's out of bitterness. How would you take that?
Joy is like as far as the joy aspect, I forgot what video it was, but it kind of reminded me of what the guy was talking about the string. Where it's like you have to kind of if you want to enjoy the string, or you enjoy what's ever in front of you, you have to leave it there. But if you keep pulling it towards you, it's gonna push away. You keep pushing it away, it's gonna push towards you. You have to just leave it there. So it's like enjoy what is not.
Yeah.
You know, but that's my thing.
Yeah, and also too from the perspective of joy not wanting grief. You know, grief and joy doesn't want to experience grief. Joy wants to experience joy. But grief is unmixed. Grief is also its own thing. Even when we look at misery, you know, like misery is worse than sadness. You rather be sad than be in misery. You know, because misery is like some tormenting sadness or whatever, right? Pain cometh of itself. Pleasure is rare. Pain cometh of itself. And so it's so easy to receive pain just for the fact that pleasure is rare. So being that pleasure is rare, when you get pleasure, makes you hold on to it. You know, make sure you don't cut the roses down when you see them. You smell and leave it for somebody else, right? Because who knows what that's gonna give. Same thing with sorrow. Sorrow is frequent. You know, the idea of and I think all of this too is going into the higher self living and the lower self living. And the lower self living, you get everything that harms, everything that's painful, everything that you don't want, and you probably don't want that. And it's so frequent. We go out there and we talk to everybody. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, my day's all right, and I'm good. And you know, I mean, nobody's excellent. Nobody's elated that I woke up this morning and oh my gosh, this is a beautiful day, and I just had some water and it was so quenching, and you know what I mean. You know, majority of people, they got so much stuff going on, you know, that they don't know how to deal with. They don't know how to engage. They're living a life of unhappiness, you know, when it should be the other way around, just for the simple fact. It's like a brother I seen, a brother in my building. Every time I see him, what's good? Everything's good or above ground. That's just, like I'm above ground, everything's good. Okay, no issues. Everything's great. Woke up this morning. You know what I mean? Every time. You know?
That's powerful though, like what you were saying in regards to like your perspective and how you look at things and kind of being grateful for the small things. You know, that shifts your perspective to focus on the pleasure. And I think that's kind of a bit of what the passage was saying as well. It's like in regards to what it was saying about the pain, it's like a lot of times if your mentality is focused on something bad or the suffering, you're putting yourself through torment or through pain for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like we are all creators, and everybody kind of wants to avoid the bad stuff. So people are going to think of the bad stuff to try to avoid it, you know. But it's very few that people think of like the good stuff.
Yeah.
You know? They only talk about the good stuff in reflection. You know. But again, we are creators, and what comes out of our mouth matters.
Yeah.
And what we think about matters. Keep thinking about negative's going to happen. And say, what do you say? Pain is frequent, as you say. Pain cometh. Sorrow is frequent. Exactly. Everybody wants to avoid it, no?
Right.
So is that why we're purchasing delight? You know what I mean? To satisfy the pain, to satisfy the sorrow.
To a degree, but then again, you know, that won't make the sorrow. You can't purchase the happiness to deal with the sorrow. It's gonna compound it.
But this is a chapter of misery.
Yeah.
So in a sense, you can't purchase happiness because that's what crackers do every day. They try to purchase happiness. They try to purchase that rock. And that makes them happy for a second.
For a second.
Exactly. That makes them happy. And then
For a
after
second.
that, they're angry and go try to rob people.
That's like same thing with people that are gluttonous too.
Yeah.
Overindulging in anything.
Yeah.
Mostly if it's food, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, they want that comfort.
Right, yeah,
They're not concerned with
exactly.
what they're putting in their body.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Well, it's gonna taste good and maybe feel good for that
Yeah.
moment. And
For that moment, I think that's the key too. The moment. Even going to 17. As the soundest health is less perceived than the lightest malady, so the highest joy touches us less deep than the smallest sorrow. As the soundest health, the most perfect health, is less perceived than the lightest malady.
Yeah.
You know.
People forget. Everybody thinks about it when they're sick. Like,
Yeah.
From when I hear it,
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
But when people are sick, that's what everybody was. You know, when you're in the hospital, you know, like, you know, I'm so you're here, and I'm so sorry to see you here, and all that. But before that, nobody cared when you're healthy.
Yeah. It's just like they say with the info. You know, everybody. Nobody doesn't care about Mars till IRS or CRA or highwaymen stop them, or you know, I mean, they got some situation and now they want to know the law and now they want to know whatever. But when everything was good and there was no issue, no highwaymen chasing them down and all that stuff, they didn't care about being Mars and all that. You know what I mean? When that's when they should have cared. You know. So the highest joy touches us less deep than the smallest sorrow. Right? How people blow stuff out of proportion. You know, the littlest thing that they should be able to get over is the stuff that lasts the longest. You know?
This is why, like, on reality TV, so the drama was just gonna say.
Yeah. That's that Wi-Fi. That real Wi-Fi.
Yeah, same thing with drama. Any show nowadays. Like this what's her name? Just Pretty Things. I remember somebody asked her like, yo, why don't she bring on, like, you know, more positive people with positive minds? And she basically just said it like, yo, it doesn't bring in the revenue.
Yeah.
People want to see problems.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see solutions.
See solutions.
You know, nobody wants to see somebody say like, this is what I did. This how it worked out. You don't have to go through all that. They hear that and just be like, okay, cool. You know, but they love to hear like, yo, I was going down the street, someone tried to slap me. What? You tried to slap me 5 million? You know, nobody's writing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's writing when you're broke. You know, nobody's writing. You know?
it's funny you mentioned that because I used to, during COVID time especially, I started to get into more health and wellness consciousness, and I would post more stuff on my social just about like nutritional value of food as a medicine. And you know, and before that, I was posting grilled steaks and all these kinds of things. Everybody was liking my stuff.
Everybody was down with it.
But as soon as I started posting health conscious stuff,
Sweet vegetables, you don't want that.
Look at the screen going.
What the hell? This guy posted some. Next, swipe to the left. Where's the steak pictures?
but it's the education, right? They
Yep.
Understanding that food's electric, the food that's communicating to your body.
No, it reminds me of like that being little animals. They turn themselves into animals.
Yeah.
You know, it's like reminds me of a dog. You know, you feed a dog some vegetables, and it's like the dog. You know, the dog's not going to say that.
Yeah.
You see that steak now? The steak is well done, and the dog is jumping on that. He wants all that. It reminds me, it's the same thing with like human nature. You know, we weren't flesh eaters. You know, at one point we were, you know, just living off of herbs
and nuts and berries and till a man took a bite of a cow and said, "Oh, this is it."
Before the sickness comes, nobody cares about that vegan stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like vegan stuff, I hear you vegans think you're better than everybody. You know, stuff, you know, as soon as they get sick, yo, like how do you make tempeh again? I remember you told me that, but I forgot. Like, you know? Now they care.
Sad too, because I met a brother this week that I was thinking about him too. I used to work with this guy, and from Sri Lanka. And I remember I was thinking about his work ethic. He used to tell me how he used to own a farm. He used to get up in the morning at like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, go work his farm till whenever, and then go to his next job. and basically have like 2-3 hours of sleep, and then just do that. And then when he came here, he got himself a convenience store, and then he put his kids through, his daughter and his son through school. He has property, bought another property. He was just telling me how he used to move like that. See him in the store the other day, and he's telling me, I got cancer and back in my head here, and I'm going to Sunnybrook. And I was like, sorry to hear everything like that. And I was like, that's crazy, because I mean, it's just hitting him now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you can see it on his face. His whole life is just flashing before his eyes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure of what he could have done differently, and probably the time that he has now. And I'm like, and another sister too, I even bumped into the other day, and she's, we were talking, but she told me, I like to talk better in person, so when I see you, I know it's all love and everything like that. But she told me she got she lost her kid to malpractice at one of the hospitals. And she said that the youth was violently projecting blood and all these things like that, and and she's just going through it, and then she's telling me, she's not doing well right now. And I was just like, well, how do you turn out like that? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, now that that's because that's a mess. That's part of your journey now, right? And I'm saying, it's like it doesn't hit them.
Doesn't register,
It doesn't register until like that happened.
Yeah.
Don't know what you have until it's done.
For real. For real.
Same thing with everything like the prophet. Don't let it to the point of story. Same lesson.
Yeah.
Same thing going on nations, same thing going on within our. Don't learn to the point of story. It says it's gonna take you 100 years.
Figure it out. Yeah.
You just say at this age, you said, wasn't with a brother. All the stuff that he brought.
Yeah. For real. Thank you. Thank you, yo. Yep. Man did his job. So Morris, good bill today. Honors to everybody. I don't think we have anything. I think the next thing we have is going to be March 11th, Ottawa. Looking at Ottawa for March 11th. Suleiman and Trinity setting up something out there for us and Brother Alfonso. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the 11th of March. That's the next thing going on. And then stay close to the email for Town Hall. That should be coming up soon as well. Islam Morris. Five on the left, two on the right. Allah, the Mother and Father of the universe.
Allah, the Mother and Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector. My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. To his holy prophet. Noble Juali. Islam. And also too, there's still some food left. We got some containers in the back if anybody wants to take home. Let's you can deal with that. Peace, Moors. Islam.
Yeah.